Hello future, my name is Louisa, and today we're talking about what could possibly be the worst book-to-movie adaptation ever made. You might say, that's ridiculous, it can't be possibly worse than Percy Jackson. In my opinion, it is, but let me explain. So the book Guardians of Ga'Hoole was published by Catherine Linsky in 2003 under the name of Guardians of Ga'Hoole, and is mainly about Zoran, who is a young barn owl growing up in the kingdom of Hoole, later about Corin, and in between a bit about the birth and upbringing of Hoole. Only the first 6 books are important, because only those were adapted into the movie, except you could also say that it's just the first 5 or 4, or I guess technically just the first 2. The point is not all 15, because characters like Corin just don't appear in the movie, so I don't know where people claim that they try to adapt that. So the way I'll make this video work is that I first talk about all the things I liked, all the changes they made that I liked, which aren't going to be a lot, but they exist. Then we're gonna talk about all the changes I didn't like, they made plot-wise, and then character-wise, because those are 2 different things. Thing that isn't a change, that just should be said. This movie is beautiful. It is. It's the locations, the lighting, it's just all of it is so gorgeous that just want to watch a beautifully 3D animated movie. Do that. Do that. It's a beautiful movie. So the movie was made by Zack Snyder, who you might know as the director behind Justice League. He did something. It's a computer animated fantasy adventure film and was released in 2010 under the title of Legend of the Guardians Owls of Ga'Hoole, which is slightly longer than the book title and slightly different, which always confused me, but we're gonna just ignore that. So the second change I like is a bit more specific, and it's the fact that they aged up the characters. So in the beginning of the movie, Zoran can already start practicing for flying, which means we spend much less time with him waiting so he can be able to fly, which is a huge part of the first book. It's just us waiting for Zoran to grow up and be able to fly. So that's a good job, movie. I'll give you that. And that's that. So let's get into the plot. We start with the telling of an old legend, which is also how the book starts. So you get like quarter of a point. The problem is that it's not the same legend we start with. In the books we get the legend of the Guardians, how they fly out every night to do good deeds. It's a very simple thing. It establishes a main group, the Guardians, and it gives our leads some hope that there's good out there, which is very important in the first few books, because they don't have much hope to go around. In the movie we get the legend of the Ice Claws, which is way more complex than what we got in the book. Like in the book we got a fun little tale of guardians that fly out every night to do goods, and in the movie we have like these are the 2 sides, these are the 2 people on both sides, they fought, one of them is evil, one of them is good. It's so much more than we got in the book as an opening, but hey, also it doesn't really establish anything beyond that. It just kinda exists. It sets up a plot twist, if you can call it that, later in the movie, but yeah, that's really it. Like, we never visit the Ice Claws. We now know who the villain is and who one of the good guys is, who doesn't do anything else in the movie. So yeah, in the book it was just much more simple. We got our main group, we meet this main group at one point, they are really important, and that's it. Yeah, no, I really don't like the fact that they changed this story. So having the legend of the Guardians being told is not only the name of the books and, the movie, literally, it's also huge foreshadowing. It's really important that all leads have hope in what they go through, a literal lifeline, and this legend has such a huge role later in the books. It gives us an introduction to our main group, which, the whole series revolves around this group. Like, literally, the first book is the only one we spent without them in a major role. So, it's kind of important that we get introduced to them early, but I guess the movie didn't care about that. It also introduces us to a place we meet, the tree, the big cool tree, which we also visit in the movie. They fly there. It's a huge point. We don't visit the ice claws. I don't know why they want us to tell about the ice claws. Just because they can prove that one person on their team read the books and knows where the ice claws are? I guess not, because we're gonna talk about it later. But, the characters mentioned aren't even supposed to be in the War of the Ice Claws, so I don't know what's going on. I mean, I'm not even past the first 10 minutes, I'm already ranting. Jeez. Skipping ahead to the first big plot point they truly changed, is the fact that Zoran and his older brother fall out of the nest together. That's the map in the books. The movie is supposed to take place in Australia. You can make of that what you want, but this is the real map, and this is Zoran's Hollow. This is assumably where Gylfi lived. We don't actually know that, but she lived in the desert of Kunia, so somewhere here lived Gylfi. And then this is Sanctigolios, and this is the tree. So yeah, there you go. So the story of the first book, if you extremely simplify it, is Zoran falls out of the nest. He gets abducted and brought to Sanctigolios. He meets Gylfi, they escape together, they try to look for their parents, and then they get talked into going to the big Gahul tree. It's a fun story. I really like the first book. But much later in the books they find out that Sanctigolios, in fact, is not the most evilest thing in this world. Even though they literally kidnap owl babies, claim them to be orphan, and then make them do child labor. Yeah, so that's not the worst organization in this whole world. In fact, the worst organization is the Purons, which are essentially owl Nazis. We love that. So if you have been paying attention and have seen the movie, you might be a bit confused. Because Zoran and his brother fall out of the nest together in the movie, yet I didn't mention him in this little summarization. Because he doesn't really appear in the first books. He's in the beginning, when Zoran thinks back to his former life, before he fell out of the nest, and then he's mentioned a couple of times, because Zoran realizes that he's the one that pushed him out of the nest, and that's kind of important. But obviously that doesn't make sense in the movie, because they fall out of it together. And when we meet Claude again, he's actually already a grown-up, both he and Zoran are, which makes the love story between him and Nira a bit less weird. It's still weird. Nira is still fully grown up when she and Claude first meet, but we don't really realize that in the books because they're both adults when we meet them again. So it's fine. It's fine. And the other thing is that when we meet Claude again, he's actually already the leader of the Purons. We don't get this little him climbing up the ranks thing. He just is. He climbed up the ranks at one point, but now he's their leader. So we just kind of accept that in the books. we don't, but it's a fun story. We don't need to see him training or stuff like that. So with all of this in mind, you might see how someone would run into complications if you were to make Sanctigolios and the Purons the same thing. it just doesn't make sense. First of all, their ideologies just don't work, which is, I think, apparent in the movie because Nero gives her whole little Nazi speech about barn owls being better than all other owls, and I'm like, yeah, that's her beliefs in the books. That's not Sanctigilius' beliefs. Sanctigilius doesn't care as long as you can work. Like, they literally don't care about what species you are as long as you can work for them. Which is fair in my opinion, like, might as well. But I always think that one scene in the movie is funny where like Gylfi speaks up to Nero and Nero just tells her like, oh, get in your place, you little non-barn owl. Like, no, she wouldn't do that. She would kill Gylfi. She would have no mercy with that little I mean, she's just so much nicer in the movie than she's in the books. In the books, she's really, really foul. Like, she will kill a baby owl if it's not a barn owl. She doesn't care. So, having her in the position of an owl that I don't remember the name of, but the leader of Sanctigilius is just kind of funny because, like, Sanctigilius is evil, but at least they're not racist. And also, yes, she would kill someone if he sticks up for Gylfi. Like, she just doesn't care. If you aren't with her, you're against her, that means you die. I mean, later she like has other owls in her witch, but the later books get a bit off the rails, so we don't talk about that. So we spend what feels like 10 minutes in Sanctigilius. It's small on that, but it doesn't feel like long. We get a little introduction to their like sleeping in the moon thing, and then we have like the what are they called in English? The little metal things. Spots? I think it's spots. And then they flee. Nice. Easy. We spend a long time in Sanctigilius in the books. Like, almost the entire first book is just Sanctigilius, which we don't need. Right? As I said, most of that time is just spent waiting for Zoran to be able to fly. So it's not the best time spent in any way, but I really like the first book. I think it's fun. I don't think we need all of that in the movie. But something I would have liked is seeing the sleepwalk a bit more, because we only saw half of it. Half of it is sleeping in the full moon. The other half is walking in a circle, in a big circle. All of them are walking in a big circle, and they repeat their names until there's like an alarm thingy, and they have to repeat their numbers, because it's not mentioned, but they all get numbers in Sanctigilius because they are just little workers. They don't have names. They can earn another name back when they are good. But for now, they all have numbers. And which I find really funny is apparently they wanted to have this in the movie because one of the owls is called a number in the movie, but it's never established why. And Zoran and Gylfi never get their numbers. And it's really, really important in the book that they have these numbers. So, yeah, I would have liked that. And also, I don't know, just show the owls a bit more cool, but I guess because they're racist now, they don't need that. Anyways, I really liked the sleepwalk in the books. I thought it was a fun concept. Oh, it's flags. Sorry, not spots. Flags. The flags in the books are a bit less magical. I think they're essentially just magnets, from what I gather. I mean, like, really, really strong magnets, and they do some funky stuff with it, but not any of that, like, soul-sucking. Like, they use it at one point, the pure ones put it, like, in a triangle in trees, and then one owl gets, like, stuck because his orientation sense gets knocked off. And, like, I think that makes sense, because, like, north and east, and, like, that's magnets, so, like, yeah, I can explain that more than whatever they have going on in the movie. And, yeah, the bats don't work for the Sanctigilius people. They just use them to suck the blood out of them because they don't want to fly. That's like a whole thing, that the Sanctigilius people don't want to fly. Don't ask about it. It's a weird part. It's I don't know. I think it's a fun addition that the bats all work for them. It makes sense. So yeah, sure, whatever. So then Gilfie and Zoe escape, which is good enough. You just pretend you were someone else, and yeah, that's accurate. They also kill Grimble, which is also something that happens in the books, and I'm excited that they did it in the movie because it was a huge part. Now Grimble doesn't tell them to go to the big Gahul tree. I think he just tells them to get out of there. Like, he doesn't care about the tree. So in the books they do the logical thing, which is looking for their parents, because for all they know, they could be dead, they could be gone, who knows. They are essentially teenagers, having been kidnapped from their homes. Like, first thing is for them to do once they escape is to run back home. Now obviously Zoan's parents are gone. He finds Miss Pluthifer, and she tells him that Claude is really bad. He's a bad person. We don't like him. We like him as a villain, but not as a person. Near Zoan's old home, they also meet Twilight, alone. They only meet Twilight, and then they meet Miss Pluthifer. And Twilight is actually the one with the idea to go to the big Gahul tree. So he's like the one like, yo, you don't have any family left. Why don't you come with me on an adventure? I like Twilight. He's great. In the books they also go to the desert then, which is, as I said, where Gilfie is from. But they find out that Gilfie's parents probably moved because their daughter got kidnapped. You know, logical thing to do. And in the desert is where they meet Digger, who we'll get into later. He's an interesting case, for sure. So, yeah, we have a band together. We love them. The movie boils all of that down to one single scene in which Gilfie and Zoe just meet all three characters on in like a bush area. I guess it makes sense if it's supposed to be Australia, that like, but we saw trees in the beginning. Like, I guess there are like forests in Australia, but not like, I don't know. So Gilfie and Zoe are actually the one that do the convincing to go to the big tree. Whatever. We talk about characters later. It makes total sense in the movie because none of them are real. Yay! So we have a little fun chase scene with crows, which I like that. It's fair. It's a huge point in the books that owls can't fly during the day because of crows, because crows like fresh little owls that fly during the day. They want to munch on them. Now in the book it's usually used a bit more creatively, I would say. So it's a lot of times it's a plot point. So either you use it to stall time, like owls will say, oh, we can't fly now, it's daytime. Crows will kill us. Or sometimes it shows how desperate an owl is when they really fly during the day, or how badass an owl is, or, you know, it's just always something. I think in Cohen's case it's one time used to show how inexperienced he is, and how desperate he is to not fly during the night, because we don't talk about Cohen, sorry. Point is, in the movie, it's fine. They're inexperienced. I honestly don't care enough. It's a good chase scene, it's fun, it's action. Good enough. Now, I don't know what the deal with this fortune teller guy is. We're in Australia, remember? This is Australia. Look at Australia. Yeah, I have no idea. I can't tell you if I'm being honest. There's not even a character that could resemble him. Like, I'm trying to think right now, and the closest I get is that later we get like an amber that can tell the future. And like a rabbit, I think. Yeah. But not in the way that he does, and not in the same like plot-wise spot he does. All guys don't meet anyone there. Like they a lot of stuff happens on this journey, which is glossed over in the movie because we don't have the time. It's I think it's a fun adventure, but it's really not important, or not that important. But they never meet anyone close to this character, so I don't know who that's supposed to be. They just made someone up for fun, for funsies. Yay. He doesn't add anything to the story, so I don't get it. Anyways, they fly over the big sea, the big lake, which is here. Look at that, it's a big lake. The Sea of Fool. No, the Sea of Fulmare. They get into a storm, they get rescued by the king and queen. That's all accurate. Again, they left out, like, in the books, they basically, so I think they come from here, and then they like, pass the tree and fly over here, and actually land in the ice narrows, and then they meet two like birds that tell them you're wrong, and then they spend a bit of time with those birds, and then they fly back, and then they get into the storm and get rescued by the king and queen. So, you know, we left something out, but that's fine. That's like animation budget, I get that. We didn't need that scene. It's a fun little scene in the books. We don't need that in the movie. I get it. So, yeah, they get rescued by the king and queen. That's accurate. Now the tree. The tree looks amazing. As I said, the animation is just, it's so gorgeous. I love it. The parliament is different in a way. So in the movie, they just don't, they just straight up don't believe them. In the books, I think they just say them that you have to train first. You have to become a guardian before we can do anything. And also they had bigger fish to fry, you know what I mean? Like, again, in the books, Sanctigolius and the Purons are different things, so all people just told them about Sanctigolius, and the Guardians were like, yeah, but the Purons are out there, and we have to kind of worry about them first. I think it's stupid that they send Alumer on a patrol to Sanctigolius with like 3 other owls. And they get tricked by Alumer, so I don't know, it's just, they are presented as a bit more stupider in the movie that they are in the books, which is sad, but whatever. The chars are not explained, even though they are really important. Also, they are wrong, because it seems like there's a blacksmithing char, which I would love, but it's just not existing in the books, I don't think. No, I don't think so. We just have Boo Boo as a char, we just have Boo Boo as a blacksmith. He's great. So on the flip side, the Charzone joins, which is arguably the most important one, if you think about it, you know, our main character joins that char. That just doesn't exist, apparently. I mean, we see it, I think, on like the big wheel thing that shows all of them, but it's not mentioned or shown. So Zoran turns into Mary Sue, because in the books he actually trains a lot to like do what he does in the end of the movie, but in the movie he can just do that. He can just do that now. We then get the reveal that Lutze von Kerl is in fact Ezurup. We love that. It's a great reveal. I mean, in the books it's not really a reveal. The reveal is that Ezurup was a great warrior once. Not that he was a great warrior once, we know. It's just kind of like Ezurup in the books. Like, Zoran hated Ezurup at the beginning. He was really disgusted by him. So, like, when they find out that he was a huge warrior, everyone is like, what? That's insane. But in the movie, it's like, oh my god, he's my childhood hero, I guess. Sure, whatever. I wouldn't care as much about this if it meant that they didn't change the beginning legend, because I kind of care about that. That's an important thing. But yeah, no, it's fine. So from this point on, the movie just completely derails. The third act is the reason no one really knows which books they try to adapt, because nothing that happens there is actually part of the books. I mean, yes, we have battles at Sanctigolios. We have battles that involve the flags. We have a battle that involves a traitor. But not all at the same time, not in that context. Alomare is completely made up for the movie, even though we have a perfectly good betrayal plot in the books. Like, there is an owl that betrays the tree. That owl exists. It's just not Alomare. I don't know where Alomare comes from, but, yeah. I think it just shows that they wanted to do their own thing, which is not what you do when you do an adaptation. Like, that's not the point of an adaptation, is to just write your own story. Then you shouldn't do an adaptation. The only part that's remotely accurate is that Clad uses the little sister for his own benefits, and he brainwashes her. And she eventually snaps out of it. Not in the same way in the that she does in the movie, but it's good enough. She also isn't rescued the same way. Like, she's not just like, why would he do that? Because the owl kids they rescue are specifically placed there by the pure ones to be rescued. So why would he place his own little sister there? It has no benefit. I don't get it. But they get caught off a point for having Zoran's little sister be kidnapped by Clad and be brainwashed and then rescued. Those are all the points that fit. Everything else is entirely made up. And just to end the movie on a bang, our main characters get the title of Guardians after one successful mission that most of them didn't really do anything for. Which, again, not what happens. They actually have to train quite a long time to become Guardians. I don't know which book it happens in, but not the first, or the second, or the third, for that matter, so... and also, Zoran's parents, they are dead. I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Zoran is an orphan, officially. Like, we see their ghosts in the books, and they tell him, like, yo, your brother's evil, and you have to kill him before we can move on. That's a huge plot point in the books. I don't think we ever get a reveal on Gylfi or Digger's parents. We know that... Oh no, that's a spoiler. Never mind. I'm not gonna say that. The point is that all four of our main characters are orphans. It's like, so they can make their own little fun family. It's cute. It's, I like it. And that's the movie. Yay, that's the plot. So let's get into the characters, because I'm not done yet. I'm not. Okay. So, we have Zoran, our main boy. He is pretty vanilla in both versions, if I'm being honest. I think in the movie he just also is a Mary Sue, which is kind of annoying. And he is a bit... I guess he has a bit more character in... No, that's not fair to say. But the beginning, I find a really weird scene, because in the beginning of the movie, he and Clad fall off the nest because Zoran wanted to practice flying. In the books, that's obviously not what happens, because in the books, Zoran just stands like on the edge, and then Clad pushes him. And then later, when Zoran tells people what happened, everyone is like, oh, you tried to fly while your parents weren't home, didn't you? Yeah, it happens. And he actually, like, kind of looks down on our kids that did that, because we have some characters that did that, and that way ended up orphans or, like, snatched away. And he's always like, no, I didn't do that. Like, that's a bad point of his characters. He didn't do that. It wasn't his fault to fall out of the nest. In the movie it was. In the movie it quite literally was his fault. So that's like a weird characterization, but it's, I don't know, it doesn't change that much. It's just a different character. Like, everyone in this movie is a different character than from the books. Zoran is just a bit less obvious. The whole point that he's Mary Sue in the movie, kinda annoying. Like, in the books, he's talented. He's better than most. But he still needs practice, and he still, like, spends quite a lot of time training to become that good, to literally be able to fight through fire. That stuff he does in the end of the movie. In the movie he couldn't just do that. But that's Zoran, honestly, like, not much to say about him besides those 2 points. So Gylfi, by the way, I'm really happy that Gylfi didn't become Zoran's love interest in the movie. I'm gonna talk about the love interest he did get later, but I really like the friendship in the books. They're great. But yeah, she's also pretty vanilla, if I'm being honest. She's also a bit of Mary Sue, but not as much. Yeah, I don't really have any other feelings about her in the movie. She's fine. I love her in the books, obviously. She's great. But yeah, in the movie, she's just kind of there. She's cute. Yay. She's so small. Oh my god. Okay, so Twilight. He isn't supposed to be that goofy. In the books, he mentions quite often that he's an orphan and that he went through the hard school of a true orphan. He doesn't do that once in the movie, but again, that's just a fun little characterization he has in the books, which the movie didn't care about. He's also, again, the one that suggested going to the tree, which is also makes sense because he doesn't have family. Like, the others have a reason to stay where they are because maybe their parents come back, and he's like, I don't have anyone. Come with me. We'll find the tree. It's gonna be fun. I mean, yeah, and besides that, he's still fist before head, you know, like punch kind of guy. He sings, which is also accurate. He sings a bit more in the movie than he does in the books. Like, in the books, it's battle songs, and you don't think he plays an instrument. But I actually like that addition. Not hugely, but yeah. I have quite a lot of thoughts about him. He might be the only reason I did this whole video, because God, do I hate Movie Digger. Yeah, okay, let's get into it. So, if you think I've been nice to the others, it's because I've been reserving all my energy for this boy. Oh, they messed him up so bad. I'm so sorry for him. I can't. Like, I can't even tell you properly what they all changed because they just made a different character. They just completely made a different character and slapped his face and his name on it and called it a good day. First of all, we don't need 2 comic reliefs in this story. We don't. We have Twilight. It's fine. He's funny. Yay. The movie already made Twilight funnier. Why do we need a completely other comic relief character? I don't get it. So, the only similarities they have, besides the species and name, is that they are both weird. Except that they are completely different ends of the spectrum of weird. So Book Digger is, the, like, unsettling weird. Like, he's really quiet. He, doesn't behave like other names because he sleeps sitting down. He likes walking more than flying. I think that's the best way to describe it. He's odd. He's the listener of the group, right? Whenever people talk, he just sits there, listens, and then gives an often comment. And it's mentioned a couple of times that everyone goes quiet when he talks because just everyone is so interested in what he has to say. And he a lot of times gives insight into a topic that no one else would. Like, he says things and everyone is like, oh, that's a different point of view we haven't considered yet. He's the deep thinker of the group. And like later, Corbin goes to him if he needs someone else's opinion. Like, if he talked to 5 owls, he's like, okay, now I'm gonna go to Digger because he can give me like a completely different point of view and maybe that'll help. Yeah, and he's like an empath. He understands emotions. He reads you like an open book. Stares into your soul. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, and he's also probably the most traumatized of the group. I mean, at least in the beginning. Because he saw his little brother get eaten by another owl. And his other brothers get kidnapped. And then he ran away. And that's when all other people find him in the desert. He's a bit hyperactive at that point because he's like under a lot of stress. But yeah, it's understandable. It's understandable. So yeah, he has reasons to be weird because he went through a lot of shit. And honestly, I think he would be very irritated by Movie Digger. Probably even annoyed. I don't know if Digger can be annoyed at people, but like, yeah, no, he wouldn't like Movie Digger, because Movie Digger is very goofy. He's very hyperactive, very haha funny, still weird, but like haha funny kind of weird, and not odd weird. Yeah, he's the comic relief guy. He's treated as such, but not like the funny comic relief guy. He's the slapstick comic relief guy. I can't think of a single thing he does in the movie that couldn't have been done by someone else. So yeah, no, he's not a good character. I don't like him. I think the biggest point of our main four is that they all have different strengths. And that's not the case in the movie, even though our weird fortune teller makes us want to believe that. It's just not true. So yeah. That's Digger. I could really rant about him if I wanted to. I think I did, probably, but let's move on to Otolissa. So, not much to say about her because she isn't much in the movie. There's an implication of a romance between her and Zoran, which doesn't make sense. They are different species. We don't have interspecies relationships in the books. The only time she's ever like romantic towards him is during like one celebration in the books, and they know each other for almost like 13 books. So yeah, no, they are not a romantic interest. Also, she's drunk in that scene, so yeah. In the beginning, when they first meet in the books, Zoran can't stand her. He actively hates her. Like actively avoiding her and annoyed and like talking shit about her behind her back with Gylfi. It's great. And I mean the whole romantic aspect, I get it because there aren't a lot of couples in the books. What's funny is that Otolissa is actually part of one of the main canon couples. We have like 5, I think. And yeah, she's like part of one. Not with Zoran, obviously. Zoran gets his own little mate. She's great. I like Zoran's partner. The point is that this series isn't focused on romance. We don't need romance. The series is focused on found family and friends. And so yeah, movie didn't have to change that. I don't get it. It sucks. She's actually a really strong and smart character, and she doesn't need a love interest, even though she gets one in the books. I really like her love interest in the books, but that's like not the topic of this video. The point is, she just doesn't deserve this. So let's get to our bad boys, and let's start with Claude because he's probably the most changed. As I already said, he isn't in the story in the books in the beginning. He does come in later when he's adult, and Zoran is also all grown up. And he becomes like the main villain for a couple of books until he dies. Spoiler alert. Nero is by his side, and he is Metalbeak when we meet him first. And there has never been another Metalbeak beside of him. Yeah. I mean, there has been another leader of the Pure Ones, but that guy hasn't been called Metalbeak because he didn't have a metal beak. The reason Claude is called that is because he lost his beak in a fight, and then he got a metal beak. It's like he's like the Darth Vader of the Guardians of Gahoo franchise. And then in the movie he was reduced to Kylo Ren, which is sad. So yeah, in the movie there's already a metal beak, and like they're in the same scene together, and it doesn't make sense because like there shouldn't be a metal beak. other than Claude. So I actually, whenever I watch the movie, which is I think 3 or 4 times now, I have it on Blu-ray, so like I don't pay anything for it. I paid for it a long time ago. When I watch this movie, I'm like, oh, this rivalry between Zoe and Claude is really interesting. I really wish they would have done more with this. But alas, they didn't. So, yay. Claude is reduced to a horny teenager. So, good for him. Talking about who he's horny for. Nua. Nua has turned on a lot. I already talked about her a ton. Yeah, she's in the movie. She's the sexy evil waifu of the evil leader, and Claude is horny for her, and that's it. No, I'm sorry. I mean, yes, in the books he's also like she's the reason Claude joins the Pure Ones, right? Because he thinks she's hot. But yeah, I don't know. Like if you from the movie you would assume that Claude is the main villain, or becomes the main villain, but that's not really true, because Nura actually becomes the real villain for like all 15 books, basically. Like he's only there for the first 6, and then he dies. Spoilers. But yeah, no, Nura stays around. Nura, and that's also a spoiler because Nura dies quite a lot of times, like dies, and then comes back like every book. It feels like she just dies at the end, and then the next book, it's like, oh my god, Nura's back. Which I think is funny. But yeah, like Nura is the one that sticks around, and I don't get that expression from the movie. From the movie, I just get the expression that she's an add-on, which she really isn't. So Alamea, I already talked about Alamea. He is an original character for the movie, which is funny, given his role in the story. He's kind of important. But yeah, he seems to be loosely based on a real character in the books. But yeah, that's about it. The original betrayal in the books happens during a siege within the tree and not like outside. And they also don't betray for leadership like Alamea does. So yeah, no, I don't know what his point is. And with that, we're gonna go to a quick fire round. So, character that has been left out is Skench. She's the original leader of Sanctigolios, and she was replaced by Nua in the movie. She's not a barn owl. I don't know what kind of owl she is. Not a barn owl, and she doesn't care about barn owls. Jet and Jet are all comic relief henchmen. I don't get that, why Nua has like people in higher up positions that are not barn owls. Like, you could at least do that. But no, apparently not. In the movie, they're the comic relief henchmen, as I said. In the books, they're really terrifying. They ate Digger's little brother. They're not to mess with. And last character I want to talk about is Itsurip. He's alright. He's a bit grumpier in the books and a bit more like, I don't know, annoyed with the world. And yeah, Zoran was terrified of him in the beginning. And like grossed out. More grossed out than terrified, I think. But yeah, in the movie he just doesn't really care. Okay, so a bunch of characters were left out, obviously, which were important to the books. Like Octavian, who was Itsurip's snake, Mist and the Eagles, who are all part of the Sanctigolios storyline, which we didn't have time to establish. We have some owls in the tree, like Madame Plonk isn't in the movie, Elvan isn't in the movie, Boo Boo is in the movie, and we love him. He has a speaking line. I love him a lot. There were also a bunch of locations left out, which I get. Animation budget. All main characters travel a lot in the first few books. Most notably the desert. And the ice snows. I mentioned them. that's the desert. That's the ice nose. And like the way in the book is like they go from here to St. Golios and then they go back, and I think they fly like that to the yeah, they do like a huge little curve over the map. It's fun. But yeah, animation budget, I get that cut. I honestly think they could have just reused the beginning part in the woods for them meeting Twilight, and then maybe instead of like this bush area, animate the desert, because the desert is also a huge important part. But yeah, no, it's fine. So I wanted I've seen people wanting a sequel to the movie, which I always find a bit frustrating, because I know like the movie ends with sequel bait, and I know a lot of people like this movie, and you can like this movie, don't worry. And maybe I should have said that in the beginning, but if you love that movie, if it's nostalgia for you, that's good. I like that. But yeah, the problem was that there's no way they could have continued this. I mean, I guess they could have, but not with the material of the books, because they ruined everything. There's no way to get it back on track. Like, it's just, I don't know how you would do that. I don't know how you would do that. So I get that adaptations are supposed to do something new with their source material. I like adaptations when they do something new. For example, I recently watched Shadow and Bone. I absolutely love that. And they changed a lot about the books. But other than this, Shadow and Bone feels like they genuinely read the source material and then just put their own spin on it. Like, they put everything from the source material into a big blender, pushed the button, and took the best what came out of it. And it's a really good show. You should watch it. It's on Netflix. But this movie just didn't. This movie, I mean, doesn't even respect the characters or the world. Like, they changed the world. And I don't get it. I have a version of how I would tackle an adaptation of the first book. Not that I am qualified to talk about that, but maybe that'll be another video. I have an idea of how I would adapt it, and I would change things. That's what you have to do. It's just the way they did it is very disrespectful in my opinion. Now my point with this video is purely for me. It's to let some of my rage out. If you enjoyed the movie, as I said, good for you. Like, honestly, I love that for you. For a lot of people, it was part of their childhood. It's a good movie on its own. Honestly, it's nothing wrong with it. I mean, movies are made to entertain, and if they did that, that's good. That's what we want. It's not made to please some nerdy little girl like me who likes the books a little too much. And speaking of, if you have actually never read them and still watched this far, hi, welcome. I hope you understood this video. And feel free to read them. Just be aware that they are meant for a younger audience. Like, there's a lot of repetition and easy language in the books, which gets annoying at some point, but I really like the story. I like the characters. That's the main point. Like, the characters are just amazing. The story gets a bit off the rails at some point. Like, it starts out easy and then demons are introduced, and like, I don't even know what happens. It's wild. It's a wild ride. So if you like stories that get a bit unhinged, I would absolutely suggest reading these books. They're great for that. They're also not very long. Like, as I said, they're meant for like younger teenagers, I guess, older children. Yeah, they're fun. So